Hi everyone. I just finished covering these paper mache boxes and I made some wool pin cushions on the top, and then you open the box and you can put your sewing supplies in there. This is 4 inches around and I got these boxes at Dollar Tree. And so the wool I already had. I already had the buttons, so I had the string that's actually Valdani Pearl Cotton. So I had everything that I needed except the boxes, and those are from Dollar Tree. So I did a bunch of them and posted them online, and a few people asked me to do a tutorial. So I found this other one that I had not done yet. So even though it's square, it's going to be the same process. So I'm going to show you what I did. I did buy some cheap white glue from Dollar Tree, so that was $1.25, and I had these little cups that you get rice in to microwave, and I saved them. So I added water to the glue and watered that down, which I'm told is the same thing as what Mod Podge is. It's just watered down glue. So I have this piece of fabric, and I'm going to look at it because this is going to be my biggest area right here. I'm going to see that is not going to cover it. As you see, it doesn't reach. So I'm going to turn it on its side and go here. No exact science to this. Just make sure it wraps around, and then I'm going to clip it. Now I'm going to tear it. And one thing I forgot to mention, these edges usually are not straight. So I usually will clip the edge there about a ½ inch in and tear. This piece will get thrown away or used to stuff something, but you can see how much thinner it got at the bottom. So it was not cut straight. And that is how you get it straight. So we have a rough edge, which is good because we're doing primitive. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my box because I'm going to wrap this way. So get out here where you can see. So I'm going to lay the box right here to the edge on that side. And then I'm going to take the scissors and just snip right there next to it, if you can see that. And I'm going to tear that. So this is going to be the piece that goes around here, like that. It's a little bit taller than what the bottom is, but we'll trim that off later. You're going to have a lot of strings. So that's for the bottom part, and then for this part, I'll make sure I'm on the same edge of the fabric. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to hold it there, and then I'm going to snip it, and that's about ½ inch. And then I'm going to tear that. Now that one is going to be all the same width going down. I need to get all the strings off. Actually done at this end. It's different, but I'm not using that part. Okay, so that's that part. Now this top, what I'm going to do, take the fabric. I'm going to turn this upside down on the fabric, right edge to edge, and take a pen on the wrong side of the fabric and just trace the lid on there. So I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't matter if this fabric has wrinkles in it. You don't have to iron it. If it's really bad, you would need to iron it, but once we put the glue on it, it's going to get wet and those wrinkles are going to be gone. They disappear. All right, so those are my pieces. I have 3 pieces. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take this glue. Let me get these finished ones out of the way so they don't get messed up. I'm going to take this glue and actually put it inside here as it drips. It's just a pan from Dollar Tree that I use for crafts. So I'm just using a paintbrush. It's just watered down glue. It does wash right out. You could use a foam brush, whatever you want to use. And I'm covering the lid there with glue. So then I'm going to take this square piece. Keep trying to stay in camera here so you can see what I'm doing. And you can't see me. Hold on. My hand's getting messy. Okay. So I just take it and put it on there. Now that had a wrinkle in it. And as you can see, that wrinkle's gone. So rub it on there really good. Turn it over. And you'll see your edges there. These are my good scissors. I'm going to go get my other scissors to trim that with because I don't want to get glue on my good ones. These are cheapy scissors from Dollar Tree. Can you tell I like Dollar Tree? So I'm just going along the edge, trimming the excess off, whatever is sticking out. You see the edge there, how that fabric sticks out? So if you just keep your scissors up against the side of this, and just cut, and that part's done. And that's how it's trimmed. Now, what I'm going to do is go around the edge here. Same technique. Just brush that glue on and be generous with it. Mine's a little runny and it's drippy. You can use Mod Podge if you have it. You could probably use Aleene's tacky glue. I'm just using this because I knew I was going to use a lot and I'm cheap. I am frugal. That's it. That's the right word. All right. I have plastic down on this, even though it's a cloth tablecloth. This is also from Dollar Tree. It is a cutting mat that you find in the kitchen department, and there's 2 of them in a package, and it works great. Keeps your cloth good. So I'm going to line this up at the corner and the top edge. And just push it down with my finger. And you're pulling on it just a little bit. You don't want to stretch the fabric, but you do want it to lay flat. And you do want it to be at that top edge. And just keep going all the way around. So you meet the other side, the other edge of the fabric strip. And then I'm going to cut that off right at the corner. So there, the lid is covered. Now, you can see on the edge here that it goes past it. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the top. Is I'm just going to cut that off. You see why I don't want to use my good scissors. They get a little messy. All right, now I'm going to go back to this, and I am going to cover this in glue. All the way to the edge and actually go on the edge. Make sure you get those edges. So you're going to do this for the whole thing. When I'm all done, I go over the edges, like the top and bottom edge there, and like this on the corners, and make sure I get all of that. But you want to soak this fabric in the glue. Don't worry about being neat because it dries clear and you won't see any difference. So I go like this. Make sure your edges where you cut are secure. Yes, my hands are getting messy. I don't want to wear gloves because then my gloves will just stick to it. It washes right off. Okay, the lid is done. So that's finished. Now I'm going to do the side of the box, and I need somewhere to put this. So let me think. I have plastic up here. I will lay it up there. Now I'm going to do the box. Same thing. I don't cover the bottom. I'm just getting glue all over this. And I'm going to do this just like I did the top. The sides of the top. Now, I've got this. Get any strings off. Because once the glue dries, those strings will be dried into that glue. So I'm going to start at the corner. Make sure it lines up with the top edge. You don't really want it to be over, but if it is over a little bit, you can just cut it off. I had one person say that she couldn't get her lid on after she was done. And there again, that had wrinkles and they disappear. So you want to make sure that you don't go over that top line. If you do, make sure you cut it off so that the lid will get on. So that's finished, and I'm going to cut this part off. It's to the edge. Make sure it's flattened out. This, like, there's air bubbles. Some of mine had air bubbles and it was kind of hard to get them out after the fact. So now I know to look for them ahead of time. And when you soak this in glue really good, those air bubbles should go away. But you can, while it's wet, work them out with your thumbs. So there has a lot of excess fabric here. So I'm going to cut this. Doesn't have to be perfect because after this glue is good and dry, I'm going to sand the edges to rough it up and make it look old and worn. But I do want to get most of it off. Alright, I'm going to go back and glue this. This is where you really want to make sure you don't have any air bubbles. After you get all the glue on, go back and look it over and work them out if you need to. But make sure this is covered really good so that it's soaking wet with glue. That should help take care of that. Now, if you just use the cheap glue like I did, you don't have to worry about being generous with it. Because I've done 13, I think this is the 13th box, and that bottle of glue is only half gone. So when you mix it with the water, it makes it go even further. I'm going to say probably half and half with the water amount, in case somebody was going to ask me that. But I just dump it. I don't measure it. Alright, so I've got all that. I'm going to go around the edges like I did on the lid. Make sure I get those really good. Get that bottom edge. And that is done. So now I get to check for air bubbles. I don't see any, but if you did, this is when you would just slide it with your thumb and push them out toward the edge. But this one looks pretty good. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. So I'm actually going to put this out in the sun, and it'll dry really fast. Let me wash my hands, so I'll be back. Okay, so the box is finished now. So you can see what the fabric looks like. And I'm not actually finished the process, but the glue is dry. So when you put it on, you might have to push the sides in a little bit to make it fit, but there it fits, it goes on. And before I do the next step, I wanted to show you I have made this, and that would sit on top, and that is a pin cushion. So all this is 2 circles, and I'll show you with this one because I decided to take this one apart. It's got some little bits of fabric scraps in there that I was stuffing it with, but you're just doing 2 circles, right sides together, sew them around, snip all the way around, cut a slit to stuff it with, and then you turn it right side out. It's very simple. And I just push my fingers around like this on the inside to shape it. These are just, like I said, scraps of wool I was stuffing with. So you're just going to push your finger around like that, go around, then you stuff it, and then you stitch that closed. Then on this side, so it would be stuffed like this, you take a long thread and you put it, I stitched it here and then took it and wrapped it around, and then come through the middle and out the top, and then go the next way around and through the middle and at the bottom, and then the next way, and then you knot it here. This one has some glue on it. And then I sew a button on top. And then this will get hot glue on it, and it will be glued to this, and then that's how it is finished. Now we're going to get back to this. So the glue is dry. I have an old piece of sandpaper here, and I'm just going to sand the edges. Now see what that did? It frayed the edges and made them look kind of torn. So this here, how nice and neat that looks. We're going to sand it, and that's all you have to do. And then it's rough, so it doesn't look so new. So you do this all the way around, just real quick. That's why when I said when I took the scissors and trimmed around, it doesn't matter if it's exactly straight, because you're going to sand it anyway to distress it. So that part is all distressed. I'm not sure how good you can see that. I'm going to do the same thing to the box. Because you want it to look old and antique-y. All right, that part's done. Next, I have coffee. I get the cheapest coffee I can find. This coffee I mixed months ago, but you keep it in the refrigerator and it's still good, as long as you keep it in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to brush the coffee on here. Again, you can use a foam brush. You can use any brush that you want. Get that string off. And this is messy, so you want to hold it over because then it'll drip down. I'm going to show you the difference here. You see the difference? So it definitely, sorry, I didn't hold that there very long. Let me hold it a little longer. It definitely makes it antiqued. And that is all you have to do. So you're just going to do all this. I like to let it dry in the sun. I think it makes it darker. And it dries, of course, a lot faster than if I just let it dry in my house. So if you have a place you can set it outside in the sun, it'll dry really quick. And that's all you have to do. And it's done. Then you can put your pin cushion on top or just leave it the way it is. And just like when I did the glue, I always go around and do these edges right here. And then I'm going to do the box. And it's finished. So it's pretty quick. If you're going to do multiples, I suggest you do it like I do assembly line. I do like all the gluing, then all the sanding, then all the coffee. And that way you get them done a lot faster. So this coffee, you can mix a little bit of vanilla with it. Sometimes people will say to put cinnamon in with it, but if you put cinnamon, it gets kind of messy. It gets gritty, and then the cinnamon comes off on everything. So I don't really like to use cinnamon anymore. I just use coffee and get some cheap imitation vanilla and throw it in there and just mix up. There's no recipe that I use. I just dump it in, get it as dark as I want it. If it's not dark enough, then I put more coffee in, and if it's too dark, then I water it down. So that's it, folks. I do see how the bottom of that looks. It's a little messy. So what I do is just take the brush and get that all the same. And then that's it. Now I'm going to sit it out in the sun to dry, and it's going to be completely finished. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you haven't already. And have fun crafting. And I will see you on the next video. Thumbs up, everybody. Bye.